will remain on mute. Commissioners and staff generally remain on mute except when speaking or voting. This meeting is open to the public, but is not a public hearing. Therefore, no members of the public may speak unless specifically invited to do so. If a member of the public creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon the recommendation of the staff or the chair. We appreciate your attendance at this meeting. Should you have any questions about the process, you may call our staff at 860-444-5813 after the meeting has ended. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's see, we have a quorum, Maureen, so we don't need the alternates to be seated, or?
Okay, you're on. We should, you can seat Julie for a vacancy.
Okay, right, I see it. Okay, thanks. Julie, would you sit for the one vacant member and the vacant seat? Thank you. Item number 2 on the agenda, approval of the minutes for June 11, 2020, meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Julie Wayne Scott, I make a motion that, first of all, I noticed there's a typo in the third or the second paragraph.
Okay.
With that exception, that correction, I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for July 9th, 2020.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Julie, you mentioned a typo. Could you make note of that specifically?
After the sentence ending "and the neighboring property" in the second paragraph of text, there's a couple of like hanging words, he, lot, on the next line. Just delete those.
Okay, if the secretary would make note of that and correct it. Is there any other comments on the meeting minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Item number 3, application review C20-08, 15 Leary Drive, in-ground pool, Kimberly Devlin, Robert Brule, owner and applicant.
Staff, yeah, Maureen, the commission had a motion for staff to draft a permit with conditions for this application at the last meeting. And so that's what I have done, a draft permit with draft findings. Concomitant to, or right after the meeting, the applicant had submitted, and you should have that dated July 20th, a letter and a revised plan reducing the area of temporary disturbance at the commission's direction. That is called Alternative 2. That should be in your, definitely in your information packet, and it's on the webpage.
Okay.
Okay,
Dave Larish, you have a comment?
I do. Yeah. So I have the first application, and I have the revised application, which was described as another alternative. And so, you know, I'm comparing the two. I mean, I see shaded areas. I don't know that it's really fully described what that means. This is around the proposed pool with concrete walk. I mean, I see the reference to wetland disturbance going from 2,250 square feet to 1,300 square feet permanent. And maybe I'd like for someone to just kind of walk through exactly what it was that changed from the first application to the second application. I see the picture here, but I just want to make sure that I completely understand, what's being presented in front of us. That could be the applicant if wants to talk about it, or staff, or whoever.
Sure, I can start as the applicant, Mr. Chairman, and Commissioner Lurch. At the beginning of this whole project, I was a little naive, I must say, going through the process. I learned a lot. And when I went through the beginning stages of this, I kind of wanted to make it, the area as easy as I could to get equipment in and out of, because as you saw at my house, I'm in a tight spot with wires over there, like wires overhead for trucks, and I've got a shed on that other side cutting me off. So that only area to get through my property was that side. So I asked, in my initial, ask was to disturb all of that area in between my neighbors and kind of where the pool is located on your alternative 2.
Sure.
And in doing that, I really poked the bear. I just took, I was just asking for disrupting wetlands that's there that doesn't maybe need to be touched. It can be left alone completely. So my first ask was a lot more square footage being disrupted, disturbed, and it was basically because I just don't know construction enough to know, can trucks pull in, pull out. I later found out that, I can always come back to this commission if I need to. If I find that, the construction would be so hard, can I move a little bit more to the east? Take exactly what I think I can just get away with right now in this alternative 2 and not disrupt the wetlands to the east at all. Just leave it all alone, because like I said in my first and second meetings, I want that buffer. But now the buffer is not only there, but literally is untouched by anybody. And I thought that was the message I received by most commission members in first 2 meetings, is don't touch it if you don't have to. And that's why, after working with your staff, trying to identify areas of just not touching anything, on top of, a temporary disturbance area of 450 feet to restore. And that was based off of recommendations 2. I felt I was really, I thought I was listening to everything people were saying, and I want to have that restored in that 450 square feet, and still have the pool in the sun. My neighbors owned, Mr. Lurch, my neighbor owns the largest tree on our street, and the only sun I'll get is kind of further to the east. As you know from the study, the drainage goes out north, which is great for me in this plan. And the more I go over to the east, the better. So that's why, how far could I go to the east and then stop, put a fence, because I believe you might have asked about a clear line, like do not go past this. And I thought the fence would be across the back and along the side of the east to make sure there's no encroachment into future wetlands, that the wetlands were never touched. And if they have to be, I know I will come back to this commission if I had to and say, hey, can I get maybe 5 more feet to get, in? I don't expect it, because I've talked to the contractors. They feel I have enough room to get in. So I just did the least amount, and that was different between my initial ask. I was going to knock down all of it to begin with, and now I'm not. And maybe staff can help me if I'm not understanding your question fully.
No, so honestly, I appreciate the fact that you came back with another alternative which reduced the overall disturbance, permanent disturbance, by 1,000 square feet. But now we have to ask some questions of ourselves on the commission, I believe. And I think we need to talk about really where we want to be. I'm not so sure this application still meets the litmus test. Under Chapter 10, we talk about, certainly it is a permitted permitted requirement because we're going to be approaching the we're going to go into the wetland, and it doesn't meet any of those other exclusions in chapter 4. So let's talk about the applicant's purpose for this this approval. Purpose 4 meaning to build a swimming pool, in a wetland, basically disturbed wetland, and any other feasible or prudent alternatives. I don't know that we've explored. This is a second alternative, but I don't know that we've explored all possible alternatives that would allow you to build this outside of the wetland itself. I appreciate the fact that it's a lot smaller footprint, and I'm still looking for a reduction in the wetland itself. Now, other members may have different opinion of that than I do, but this is the way that I look at this and have looked at it for the last quite a few number of years that I've been on this commission. So let's as a commission talk about what we've done or what we feel about as far as allowing projects. I understand it's a small lot, people that should be able to use their property, but we also need to protect wetlands as well. If I may add one more, I know I've talked quite a bit. If we look at this one, and there are 34 other properties that also border the same wetland, and they were also given 1,200 square feet, is there a cumulative impact? I don't know. So does anybody else have any other opinion about section 10.2b to talk about, that talks about the purpose for allowing someone to build or disturb the wetland, and also any other feasible or prudent alternatives, which would allow Mr. Brule to build his pool and be outside of the outside. It might not be necessarily where exactly he wants to put it, but that he could still do it. Any thoughts?
If I might offer an opinion to the commission, Mr. Brule has. We asked him first of all to go have a wetland study done. He's done that. He's come back with an alternative that reduces the area of impact, which is a positive thing. And the thing that's most significant in my mind is that the wetland impact study says that the impacts are not considered to be significant for the overall wetland, most of which is off-site. This is not in my opinion, and I think staff would agree, it's not a high quality wetland. There's, I think somewhere in the report it states that there's no wildlife impact. And I do believe that homeowners in our community have a right to make the best use of their property to suit their lifestyle. And based on that, I would certainly recommend that we approve the application and approve the draft.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions?
This is Tally. I think also that this subdivision was developed in 1958 prior to the Connecticut wetland regulations. So this puts the homeowner in a disadvantage. And I think the homeowner has done enough to satisfy myself that this is the better alternative of everything that was presented.
Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Brule, I have one. Michael Stankov. I understand many of the things that Mr. Lurch is saying, because 10.2b states that for any feasible and alternative prudent alternatives to the proposed regulated activity. Perhaps I am reading this wrong. I think it is possible hypothetically there's no way to put a pool on this property and not cause some loss of wetlands. There simply isn't, unless we knock down your house. But I presume, Mr. Brule, that you are amenable to your house staying up while also having a pool. Some wetlands would have to be lost in order to cause this. And I understand that you do not want to place the pool on the right side of your house as opposed to in the back and creating that long fence in the front. It's not exactly what you want to do. While that might be the area that would minimize wetlands loss the most, I understand that. The thing that gets me about this application actually is the exact thing that Mr. Lurch mentioned, which is precedent setting by the members of this body for the loss of about 1,500 square feet of wetland on a residential home backed by a pool, backed by a wetland rather. In approving this, do we set a precedent that we will accept minor wetlands loss eating away at the edges of wetlands that exist throughout the town? Because while Mr. Brule has come back to us with an excellent application that minimizes the damage and comes up with all sorts of mitigation, I stand worried about the effects, about edge effects on the environment. If we allow 1,500 feet to go here and 1,500 feet to go there, and we receive an additional 1 or 2 applications about this every year, then we lose in 30 years an entire acre of wetland in the town. And I don't know how people feel about that based on edge effects. Now, I do not dispute a single thing in the wetland assessment, which does in fact state that the proposed activity would result in minor impact to wetland function and value. Conversion of native vegetation to residential can have a negative impact on wildlife as an unavoidable impact of land development. However, since the wetland hydrology has a short hydro period, there will be no anticipated impact to wetland wildlife. I think that the commission has to consider here that both of those things, that this is simultaneously, I don't know, I've been sat on this committee for 2 years, and as far as I know, we've never approved a project with this much wetland disturbance for a private property. And I'm certainly wary of that. But I'm also, I would never disrespect an environmental professional who comes back and tells me that there will be no significant impacts. So I'm very torn on this personally. I don't know how everyone else feels.
Any other comments?
Oh, well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, again.
Mr. Lurch?
Yes. So, Mr. Stankov mentioned, of course, you know, logically speaking, we wouldn't certainly ask anyone to move their house or, you know, something to that extent. I noticed that there was an extension on the deck, and certainly if you have a nice deck, I'd love to have a deck that large as well. Does one person give up a deck, part of the deck for that, or do they put the pool closer to a tree where they don't get as much sunlight? You know, those are the things I think that we should also consider as separate alternatives, if in fact the applicant is willing to consider those sort of things for reduction of impact, you know, or disturbance of that wetland boundary. Not asking that any of those be done, but I could tell you that I think that there are other options that could be considered. And again, this, you know, this is a decision that needs to be made by this committee, and I'm just one member of the committee, and I have my one view on this. So, you know, I'll just wait for further discussion or a vote or whatever.
If I could, Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brule?
I just wanted, you know, Mr. Lurch, I respect exactly what you're talking about, and I've purposely kind of thought about what I could do to minimize, to, you know, to stay in a home that, well, you've been there, and
Sure.
Is there a way that I can, you know, can I make the pool smaller? Sure, I can. Like I can definitely kind of make it a little smaller. You know, I kind of did a lot of things to make a straight line property so it was delineated. Am I willing to remove part of my deck to do this? I'll tell the commission, yeah, I am, because it means this much to my wife, who she has to exercise. We need this, so we got to do this. I got to find some place where I can have a pool for just different reasons. And I think, am I willing to move over a little bit? Anything. I just don't want you to feel like the public is not looking to work with and respect where you guys are coming from. I especially, more than anybody, and I don't want to be the precedent, Mike. I just don't. It stinks that I'm here being that precedent. This is why I wanted to talk to you and be the person. I didn't want my wife to be the one coming up to the committee and talking about this, because no one knows my wife. I wanted to make sure you knew I was married to her, and she's been wanting this. And right now I'm looking at it as there's not much I can do with my lot. I'm the only one on the street like this. And if you look at the land and you look at the topography, you'll see that the impact that this will have, the minimal impact it will have, I realize that I'm still very aware of my surroundings, and it goes all the way to the back ends of properties on Quarry Road or on Goshen Road, and it is a vibrant area. I think where I'm at is moving the disturbance over, not touching that 1,000 square feet. I thought I did these steps in good faith. I thought I did these listening to each and every recommendation to get to this point. And I thought that I'm only want to take what I need, not what I'm not trying to get all I can, Mr. Lurch. I'm taking just what I need. I'm going to not touch a large part that I originally was going to do that got your, initial approval to listen. But I knew I needed to make some other steps to take care of that temporary construction site now and repollinate there. I needed to do that 400 square feet as well. Do I need to move moving the fence in on the east side, just even 5 more feet, be another layer that I could add to make sure that the commission knows I'm not trying to negatively impact this entire area behind all of our properties on this lot. Just want a reasonable backyard to have a pool, a small one that fits even with my 20 by 20 shed, and that's it. And I'm trying to fit it in that little window, because the more west I go, the more I get into my back. My back door is lower than any other part of my house, and the more I go west, the more I'm going to be in that lower area of topography. So that's why I just stayed more towards the north as much as I could. I hear what you're saying. I respect it. I think this is a great, to me, it's a great example of what could work, what if people are responsible and people will, make this work. Your recommendations are making this possible, and you have the knowledge. I don't, but I have the respect to follow this process. And if it's something where it's a small thing keeping us apart right now, but fundamentally, I was at the last meeting, and I know this is hard. I know this is hard on the commission. I know you're torn, Mike. I get it. I'm doing all these other things, though, in town and all my life to make sure that I am respecting the environment and the wetlands and keeping everything in order. Nothing's been touched. I wasn't going to let a truck in there cut down trees, because I'm not going to disturb it. I had to physically start cutting things down so I could manually take down trees, because I respect what I have back there. I want it, and I want to minimize the impact. But I want this commission to feel comfortable that you're making a decision that it can be responsible. And if the experts are saying that it will have a minimal impact and it's reasonable, I just thought, I appreciate you just listening to me one more time. And if it's because I know this will be it. This will be either yes or no forever. And I just wanted to be able to express, my commitment to this commission, the area, and And up until now, 10.2B and everything else has been checked off as approved. And I just, and I respect where you're coming from. So if it's a matter of making some changes and making some final tweaks, I understand that. But that's all I can do. I'm gonna abide by this contract. This is a legal document, and I want to make sure I do it right. And I want you all to feel good that people that are in this position, I'm rare. You're not going to get a lot of these, Mike. You're not. Like I am rare. Like these cases aren't heavy in this town. This is a special case. This isn't happening everywhere. This is a unique situation that I'm just in, and I bought a little bit young and naive. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd buy a house with a bigger backyard. I just would. But here's my roots, and I understand everyone's concerns, and my wife will be a good steward. She's the owner of the home, and I appreciate me just being able to explain a little bit more of what I might be able to do, a little bit to make this better. But fundamentally, I'm not going to be able to change people's minds. I think it's just got to be a trust of, maybe a little bit of give and take on a, this could work. Something else could happen. It could be really good. So anyway, thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
I'd just like to comment a little further. I was not at the last meeting. Last meeting, apparently, based on the fact that we have a draft before us, we felt comfortable enough with this application to move it to draft. We've asked the applicant to have a wetland study performed. He's done that. And the result of the impact study was, again, the impacts are not considered to be significant. With regards to my colleague's comments about losing an acre of wetlands over the next 30 years, I appreciate the calculation. I understand the value of the wetlands, but when we look at in volume, the wetlands that we have in the town, and the fact that over 30 years, based on these type of applications, which to the best of my knowledge, over the past 10 years that I've been on the commission, are few and far between. I think that we would do the applicant an injustice if we prolong this process. And again, based on staff's recommendations, we have a draft before us, and I'm going to ask for a motion to move on the draft, unless staff has any other comments.
I have no comments.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the draft. That's the final approval for this
Is there a
application.
second?
A second.
Motion is made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And those opposed? Hearing none, I guess the vote is 3-0.
Mr. Lurch is,
No.
Okay, 3-1.
I would like to abstain.
All right, based on the vote of 3-1 and 1 abstention, the draft is approved.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Brewer.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And
Thank you for your work.
Thank you, members of the commission, for your comments.
Right, Rich, can you just correct that? Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can we do a voice vote, please, on that motion?
okay,
Very difficult to hear.
okay. Julie,
Aye.
hold on, I have to get a pen that writes.
Want me to read it off?
We can do it.
Mr. Lirish,
No.
Mr. Stankoff,
Abstain, please.
Mr. Modelis,
Aye.
chair votes aye.
And Geneva Renegar is
I'm
here.
sorry, Geneva,
Aye.
just barely see the top of your head.
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed you before. So the vote is, in fact, is 4 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. Does staff check me on that?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
So the final tally is that the draft is approved by a vote of 4 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention.
Thank you all again. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Brule.
Application review C 20-11, 29 Huntsbrook Road, 2-lot subdivision. Ellen DeGatano, owner. Evan DeGatano, applicant. Floric Surveying LLC, agent. Mr. Floric, any comments?
Good evening, Brian Floric, Floric Surveying LLC. I received Maureen's comments in her draft approval. I don't have any other comments other than what I had made last meeting.
Okay. Commission members, any comments?
No. Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that that we incorporate staff notes into a draft approval letter.
Okay, motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second that, Mr. Chair.
Any objection?
Mr. Chairman, I think we do have a draft approval letter in front.
Do we?
Yes.
Application.
Is this motion for moving to draft or for approving the draft?
I think we should be.
Oh my God, there is a draft.
Draft
Okay,
exists.
so the motion is to approve the draft.
Oh, sorry about that. Stand by one.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
Second.
Julie Wayne-Scott is the second. Any further discussion?
Julie here. I just want to make a comment that it noted in the minutes of the last meeting, I had made a suggestion of where to put the rain garden. And I just want to mention that I did have the opportunity to walk on the site. And really, I see no reason to have any influence on where you decide the best place for the rain garden is. It's not necessary to move it. I think, and as well as that, that stone fence does make an excellent demarcation line as a comment.
Thank you.
I agree with Julie. The stone fence is excellent demarcation line. I think its natural boundary shouldn't be disturbed.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the draft. Any further comments or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Floric.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank
As
you.
well.
Item number 4 on the agenda, new applications. C20-12, 36 Butlertown Road, Woods Road Stream Crossing, Dennis Harlow, owner.
Dennis is here. Dennis, did you want to address or do you want staff to take them through?
He has his camera off, but I don't know if that's his phone or not.
Maureen, you want to walk
Yeah, I'll
us through
take it
this?
through. We're not sure if we have them or not. This application actually was received at the last meeting period, but it came in after the agenda was posted. Staff did have an opportunity to walk this trail with the owner and to review the proposed crossing. The application packet that you have in front of you that was put together by the owner is fairly comprehensive with photographs showing the existing stone line channel where he is proposing to put a well, I shouldn't say prefabricated, but a constructed offsite timber bridge and lay it across those stones. He's not proposing any modification to the stream channel or the lining of the stream channel. And he provided excellent photographs of upstream and downstream. To help to help the commission. This is pretty far out in the woods, this spot. So in your packet, I included a 500-foot scale aerial photo. If you can find that, I think you have a better idea. You can put it up if you want. I have it in front of you. We can just put it up and you can see it. If that's all right.
Yep.
Bear with me one moment.
You want me to do that, Maureen?
No, we got it.
Okay.
We did have it.
Well, does everyone have a copy of it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I think we can proceed with that, Maureen. We have.
I have a copy.
Okay, as long as
Everybody has a
everyone,
copy.
if everyone has a good Katrina, you can keep trying.
I
So-
wish they were all this nice. This
Yeah.
was
And
beautiful.
then,
Excellent package.
and then I also had some photographs when I walked the site for a little bit of better scale. You can see where there's two 2x6s are laid across. I tucked that also into the application packet. You know that picture? The next one down. This one.
Can I ask a question at this point?
You're the chair.
How long are the 2x6s?
But in the application, it discusses the construction and the length of the bridge. Let me just find it.
Pine beams are 8x8 on the base, and
The proposed length of the beam is 11.5 feet.
Yeah.
It's on
I think the
page-
chairman in the picture, Maureen, how long are those?
Yeah,
They're about the
2x6.
same.
I didn't measure them, but they're gonna be close to the same. Those are probably 10 footers.
Okay,
So approximately 12 feet, is that what you're saying?
yeah, about 11 and a half.
Okay. Okay, Maureen, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, but that's why we have that's why we loaded up the app, so we can get to those pages. All the way down. So there was the mapping that's provided. Here we go. These are the trail he's maintaining. Keep going. That's one side of the stream. It's the other side of the stream. That's what it looks like downstream. Upstream. Upstream from this is a rather large, significant swamp that's fairly much with a constricted outfall. And there's an active beaver dam in there, as well as a rookery. It's really, really spectacular. I had the opportunity to review it with the owner. So there's the stream is naturally constricted at this outlet point, and this crossing is at probably one of the narrowest points.
That stream bed is quite full of rocks. This is a beautifully well-kept trail or road, and like the obvious place for a crossing.
Go down this.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to go to a draft for the approval of permit application C-20-12 based on the extremely extensive application and the fact that it will not actually impact the wetlands at all.
I'll second that.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, if I may, just to give the staff a little bit of direction on the approval letter. I wondered if anyone had any specific comments that they wanted to make, because we don't usually have applications like this one. As Mr. Stankoff mentioned, it's quite extensive, and I think very well done, very responsible. But As far as the construction goes, I understand it's being built off-site. I just wanted to make sure that we gave staff enough instructions if there is anything else other than what's already in the package. I see none, really, that, but I don't know, someone else may have another opinion.
Any
I,
response to Mr. Lersch's comments? Julie?
well, I just had a question. What type of vehicle would transport this pre-made bridge of this size? I guess is that,
Yeah, it's not identified in the application. I imagine a small truck.
I don't,
The trail's
I don't-
wide enough to accommodate a vehicle.
okay.
I respectfully say that the type of vehicle to transport the project is really not under the jurisdiction of the commission.
I'm just considering the destruction or the impact to the road at the water's edge with delivering and positioning the final bridge.
We can incorporate that protection measure as a condition of approval.
Any other questions or comments? Motion is made to go to draft. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Under item number 4, new applications. Next, we have C20-13, 51 Shore Road, vegetation maintenance and wetland and non-encroachment area. Brian Vincenti, applicant and owner.
Mr. Vincenti, are you attending? Would you like to address the commission?
Is Mr. Vincenti on the call?
That's what we're asking. Brian?
There's a number and I don't know.
I don't hear any response, Maureen.
Yeah, he's not unmuted. You can unmute yourself if you want to join. Can he unmute himself or can you?
I don't know if that's him or if that's someone else.
All right, I don't know.
Is he the 5642 number?
I don't know. I don't. It's different than the number
It's
in
not the
the,
number in his application. All right, well, I guess I will act on the applicant's behalf. This is a request to conduct some vegetation maintenance. I think he actually talks about the equipment he's going to use, what he's targeting: honeysuckle, poison ivy, wineberry, knotweed that's grown up in the wetland in a non-encroachment area. This was a wetland restoration site from, what is the date, 2011. The prior owners had done some tree removal in the wetland and non-encroachment area, and this commission had given them a notice of violation and issued corrective actions to replant 15 native shrub plantings spaced throughout the cleared area and let natural vegetation regrow. And that's what it did. So it's pretty much 6 to 8 foot high briars, brambles, and vines. I briefly walked it with Mr. Vincenti prior to submittal of this application, and recommended that he gets authorization from the commission for the activity he's trying to do in these areas. So the question would be, as this is maintenance of an area a restoration area, he has the option to come in under section 4. Where's my copy? As a either maintenance or as a residential permitted use. And that's for the commission's discussion.
If this is this considered to be general maintenance, Maureen?
That is the potential to be the finding of the commission, Mr. Chair. I believe that's what staff
Sorry,
is
Mike,
asking.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, I believe that is what what staff is asking us, is whether or not the commission finds that this falls under, I think,
I
4.2.
understand.
So if I may, with what's on the screen right now, the yellow area is the non-encroachment area. Inside that little bean shape, that's the wetland area. And back in the day of the year of the violation, approximately 50 by 40 foot area of the wetland had trees removed. So what you see there in those little plantings, that was the planting plan that was approved by the commission to restore the area. I believe it's that area and all along the fence that Mr. Vincenti would like to be able to clean out all the invasives. And those are the photographs he had included in his application. I really wish he was able to describe it for you. I don't see him on the call. So my question to the commission is, we can look at this as a regulated activity and draft a permit with parameters. Look at this as a maintenance activity of an approved corrective action to restore and replant where necessary the mitigation plants.
In my view, Mr. Chair, if I might, I believe that this counts as maintenance of an improved regulated activity pre-existing, based upon what I understand, as Maureen has explained it to us, of the original activity and violation. As a result of that, perhaps some guidance on replantings, considering there was restoration. The staff mentioned that there was a go in, clean out the invasives, and potentially restore the previous plantings. With the restoration of plantings, perhaps some guidance on which plants are native is worthwhile. But other than that, I don't think we need to issue our own another permit for this activity, considering it's corrective action that is now just maintenance.
I would tend to agree with Mr. Stankoff.
I agree with Mr. Stankoff also.
I would just point out to the commission that in the applicant's letter, he does state that the requested maintenance will need to be completed several times, allowing seedlings and shrubs to grow while protecting the existing trees. He would also like to plant several firs immediately to the north of the well. No trees or shrubs will be removed, and he will reestablish native plants listed in the restoration plan. So I believe he's asking to do just that.
And crap. Oh, and Maureen, how are we going to ensure that he follows through with this this plan of action? Or is that something that you, in the course of your normal duties, would ensure happens, or do we just kind of just take it him on his word that he's going to do what he says he does here? Being that there was a violation at one time.
Right, the violation was closed in October 2011. So quite frankly, if you want oversight on this, you should probably go his permit. If you think he's not going to do what he says, a permit does not require a person to do the work. It just licenses them to do it. Please don't forget that.
So here we have the same area that was once a subject of a violation against the wetland rules, and the commission required that they take certain corrective action, and they did that. But do you remember, did they have to submit an application for a permit whenever they went back in and restored that area?
Yes, what you're looking at is the signed restoration permit.
So if there was a permit before, shouldn't there be a permit now? And that's the question that we're trying to
Correct,
answer.
correct.
And from some of the board members, I hear that, or commission members, I hear that maybe a permit isn't required. But it was required before because there was a violation, but now we're not going to require a permit to do this work in this area where we had a violation. At one time.
I think it's,
doing the work. Sorry, the reason that we're doing the work now is as a continuation of restoring the restoration in response to the violation. Mr. Loesch, I'm completely amenable to issuing a new permit, but I didn't think it was necessary at first. A new permit is the safer option. If you would like to make a motion to that regard, I would definitely vote for it.
Yeah, well,
Hallie?
in my view,
yeah, I think it's a regular maintenance in there to maintain the corrective action. And I don't think the maintenance requires a permit.
I would tend to agree.
I have a question. Does
Sure.
maintenance typically, this is requiring machinery and in this area? I know to remove the trees in the first place to cause the violation, they probably used machinery, but not sure if the restoration plan involved machinery. I don't know how that factors in.
The brush mower is to get rid of the poison ivy and the invasive shrubs.
So that's nothing, not any large type of thing.
I guess
so we're accepting this permit tonight. Is that correct?
it's a request for unregulated activity. So if the commission feels that this warrants a permit because it involves significant removal or deposition or obstruction of the wetland, then that would be the finding you have to make first. In other words, that there's regulated activities involved with this.
Has the applicant indicated that he's going to use any machinery in the process?
Yes, the second paragraph. Hang on, we'll bring it up.
It's a DR field and brush mower, which is essentially a push hand mower with a higher catch basin, such that you can grab twigs and the like. But as far as I understand it, the normal model of these are they're push mowers. So there will be equipment involved.
Okay. So the question before us is, do we feel that a permit is required or no permit? What's your pleasure?
My pleasure is a permit required.
My pleasure is that a permit is not required.
Okay.
Mr. Loesch, would you like to make such a motion to have the permit, and we'll see if you have the support?
I would move, I'd like to make a motion that we move to a draft permit, citing the, as requirements, the specifications that Mr. Vincenti mentioned in his application C-20-13.
Okay, motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second such a motion.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Just a clarification, we are, in making this motion, we are finding that this is a permitted activity, correct, staff? That's covered, that finding is covered by doing this?
I would ask someone to amend that motion.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Maureen.
It would probably be best if someone amends this motion in your discussion of it.
I'm sorry, I still can't hear you.
She's asking for an amendment, Mr. Chair.
I would recommend you amend it to find that the activity is regulated and therefore requires a permit, and then move to draft a permit.
I will also amend my motion that the activity requires a permit and the other specifications that I mentioned would still be in effect for C 2013.
Okay, so motion is made. Mr. Stankoff?
Yes, I will continue my second, Mr. Muckle.
Okay. Motion is made and seconded that the activity requires a permit. Is that a fair assessment of the motion?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I have that the motion is that the activity requires a permit and that the commission move to draft such permit with the specifications as presented in the applicant's letter. That's what I have.
Okay.
That's,
Everybody understand the motion? Everyone understands the motion.
yes.
Julie?
Yes.
Mr. Stankoff?
Yes.
Mr. Medelis?
No,
Geneva? Geneva?
You're on mute.
You're on mute. Geneva?
Yes.
What did I miss?
You.
Mr. Flourish?
Oh, yes, please. Yes.
Chair votes no. Motion carries 4 yes, 2 no's.
Okay.
So,
Okay, we will inform the applicant that this is a regulated activity and he will have to pay the requisite fee.
thank you.
4-0.
Next application, C20-14, 14B, and 18 Shore Road. Driveway construction, David C. Mortimer, owner and applicant. Killingly Engineering Associates, agent.
I believe there's someone on the call representing this application. Mr. Cole, are you wishing to present to the commission?
Mr.
Ian?
Cole?
All right, well, this application came in on July 16th. We will take it in under consideration. This is just in a nutshell, I gave you a location map. This is down by Seaside. It's a new house being constructed on the site of an old house. And the applicant is requesting to create his own driveway over property he owns instead of sharing a shared driveway on property on 16 Shore Road. If you want to look at this, please contact me, as it is an active construction site. I want to make sure that we have the proper heater on.
Questions, comments?
Except
Mr. Chair, I believe I'd like to take a look at this, this area.
yeah, we're just accepting it tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. He wants to build his own driveway and not share another driveway. And I saw his reasoning in the end, you know, fire emergency vehicles, that sort of thing. I don't know, interesting to take a look at.
Okay, so I guess the only action is to accept the application tonight.
Yep.
Maureen,
It's in order, it's complete.
application is complete and accepted. So we move on to item number 5, correspondence.
There is no correspondence.
And item number 6, payment of bills. I don't see any listed. Item number 7,
Before we adjourn, Mr. Chair, staff has, we have to talk about the next meeting. The regular meeting was scheduled for August 13th. And 2 weeks from now would be August 6th. That would be preferable to meet a number of people's vacation schedules. But I would like to know if we will have a quorum of this commission for the 6th, which would be 2 Thursdays from now at 6:30.
okay, is there any,
You check your schedules while we're still all together and let us know.
I'm available.
I'm available as well.
Stand by one. Let me get my calendar.
Okay.
Maureen, I may be away that weekend.
Okay. Tally?
Tally?
I may also be away.
Geneva?
I'm available at that time.
How about Michael? Maybe Mike?
Okay, it looks like I'm free that night.
And Mike? Did he already sign off?
He looks,
Mr. Stankoff?
Oh, no, he's there. He
Yeah,
just,
he's muted though.
he's muted.
Okay.
looking for his calendar.
I'm available, yes.
Okay, so it sounds like there'd be a quorum, Maureen?
Yeah, when then we still have our alternate, Mr. Thomas, so.
Okay,
All right.
okay, so we'll meet at,
Hopefully, you know, and if there's a better day, and it doesn't have to be Thursday, but we need to post it and notify these applicants when we'll be meeting again. But I'm afraid I won't have a quorum. We won't have staff on the 13th.
but you want to schedule a meeting for the 6th, correct?
Right.
Okay,
So if anything changes with status, please let us know and we will move it to the 2nd, the 3rd, whatever, but I don't want to change a meeting and not have a quorum. So
Yeah.
that would be very unfair to all the applicants.
okay.
Okay, thank you for your consideration.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll make such a motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr.
Second.
Stankoff. Sally? All those in favor?
Bye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you, good night.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Take care. Have a
Good
good week.
evening.
Thank you.